make an impact in people's lives, no matter how it looks like, that is so fulfilling. And I thought I was teaching acting, dance, and singing, right? Little did I know that I actually was teaching so much more. I was teaching life skills, confidence, and giving young people the tools they need to become successful in life, period. And that was the first time, Paola, where I really realized this is who I am. This is why I was put on this earth. I am here to make a difference.
Hello, and welcome back to Journey of a Fearless Female. I'm your host, Paola Rosser, and this week my guest is Sabine. She's the host of the acclaimed Become podcast and is a best-selling author, is a distinguished Fredericksburg Entrepreneur of the Year, dedicated to enhancing the communication prowess of female entrepreneurs. A former actress and director in Europe, Sabine relocated to the U.S., pioneering a performing arts school that she helmed for over 27 years. Equipped with innovative tools and strategies, Sabine helps entrepreneurs and CEOs master their presentation skills and eradicate the public speaking jitters. Sabine is on a mission to empower 1 million entrepreneurs to become excellent communicators so they can share their mission and message to make a positive impact and improve the world by 2028. Everybody, please welcome Sabine. Thank you for being on the show. I am excited to have you here. Let's talk about your fearless female journey, who you were before this all happened. We love to hear a hero's journey. So go ahead, Sabine.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you, Paola, for having me here today. And it's always very challenging because I have been on this planet for some time. So I can really literally talk for hours. But I think it all began when I had to make a decision as a young adult. And as many probably can kind of think back, when you are young, you just get out of school, you really have no idea where your life is going to
Right.
So I listened to the well-meant advice of my dad, who said, Sabina, find a job with benefits and a good salary so you can pay your bills and have something left over to pursue your hobbies. By that, he meant my little singing and acting, what I did. So it sounded good to me at that time. So I did. And I got my business education and ended up working as a claim adjuster for an insurance company. So you
Wow.
can only imagine a creative person like me. That
Right.
was
Every little girl's dream.
very, very much so. And after the honeymoon period was over, making your own money, I found myself one day staring out of my office window and thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I cannot do this for the next 40 years. Is it all what is mine to do?
Yeah.
And when you put this out there, the answers will come from the universe. That same week, I had a chance meeting with my former drama and music teacher, Mr. Herbst. And I still remember it like it was yesterday, Paola. I was going down from the subway to my home, and there I bumped into Mr. Herbst. And we had a little chit chat. And then he asked me if I was still active with my singing group, with my acting group that I had. And my answer was no. And then he said one thing that changed my life, literally one sentence. And I was very, very, without any emphasis or do this or that. No, he just said, what a shame, Sabine. You are so talented. And then I was like, wow, that woke me up. And I said, he is right. And that same evening, I went home. I had no idea how to get started in the entertainment industry. Nobody in my family was there. But the saying, when your why is big enough, the how will show up. So I caught an acting school. I auditioned, I got in, and I never looked back. And that was really the beginning of my my journey as an independent contractor, as actress and business owner.
Oh my gosh. I think the reason why your dad, and if you're listening on Spotify or Apple or watching on YouTube, we've all had this like conversation with our parents, our caregivers. They're giving you advice based on their own experiences, based on their own limiting beliefs, based on what they feel is the safest path for you. They're not doing it to deter you or to make you feel miserable. They're doing it because they're afraid of like leaving the village. And what if it doesn't work out for her, you know? And I personally went through the same thing where my sisters all wanted me to be a teacher. And I'm like, I don't want to be a teacher. But for them, that was the safest path, is just to get your degree, be a teacher, and just live happily ever after. Like he said, collect a paycheck, have enough to do whatever you want on the side. But the side gig is where it needs to stay. Like your passion, your dream, what made your soul come alive, had to stay on the side, because he had never seen or witnessed someone become a successful singer, actor, drama person, right?
And that was actually the response from my family, who said, you know, this is like a shady profession and you will never make any money. But here's the thing, I said, I don't care. I want to do it because it fills my heart and
Mm.
I love it. But when you do something that you love and you learn the skills, the money will follow. And the interesting part was, after 2 years of being a stage actress, I landed a role on TV. And we only filmed for 6 weeks over the summer. But during that time, I made more money than I did the entire year working for the insurance industry. So
Wow.
money will follow, right? And
Yeah.
I never looked back. And that was really the beginning of my journey. First of all, expressing myself, doing what you love, right? But that led to many other things, literally where I am today. After a 10-year great career, I played wonderful roles. I met my now husband during a European tour of Fiddler on the Roof. And then we started directing shows around the world as directors. So we worked for 2 years for a company and going to great vacation spots and putting on shows for resorts and whatnot. It was fantastic. But again, when you do something for a while, that was good. But then, your soul tells you, now you have to go the next step. So the fun is over. Now, I shouldn't say that. It was fun and I still have fun today. But say, there's something more you need to do. And we wanted to settle down. And that's when I made the decision to move to the US, where my husband is from. So he is from the
Mhm.
US and he lived in Germany with me for 2 years. That's where I'm from. And and then we basically decided it's time to start our entrepreneurial journey and pass on the love and the passion that we have for the performing arts to a new generation.
And how old were you at this time when you were leaving Germany to go to the US?
I was in my 30s, my early 30s. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Still a venture where you're leaving your family and your friends and everything you know behind to go to a completely new country.
Yeah. It was a weird feeling, to tell you the truth, to have a one-way ticket to
Yeah.
the United States. So I
Exactly.
call this journey, and I talk about that often when I share that, 4 suitcases and a dream, because that really
Oh.
literally what it was. We sold everything that we had and just our, personal possessions that we took, and then we started all over. We had that dream, and
Hmm.
again, there was not much of what I knew about starting a performing arts school, right? But you learn as you go along and you figure things out. But when your passion is there, then you can also sustain hardship. You can sustain, like the first year, we didn't make any money. I had to do kind of odd jobs to put food on the table
Yeah.
because everything went into the business. But you love that, and I still, and that is the wonderful part. And I want to share that when we can make an impact in people's lives, no matter how it looks like, that is so fulfilling. And I thought I was teaching acting, dance, and singing, right? Little did I know that I actually was teaching so much more. I was teaching life skills,
Hmm.
confidence, and giving young people the tools they need to become successful in life, period. And that was the first time, Paola, where I really realized this is who I am. This is why I was put on this earth. I
Yeah.
was to make was here, or I am here to make a difference.
Absolutely. I got chills when you said I was teaching so much more than acting and singing because it is life skills.
Mhm.
To be able to speak, to be able to be in front of a crowd, to be able to express yourself. We're in a society now where everything is like right now we're behind a computer, and in all of 2020 we isolated ourselves, and the human experience is meant to be shared. We're meant to be in groups, we're meant to be around each other, we're meant to feel each other's energy. And when we are separated for so long, and when we've created this society where we're staying home and we're watching TV and we're on our computers and we're not really meeting and like socializing and laughing together and acting or dancing or singing, we lose that connection as humans, that tribal like sense of like we are meant to connect, we are meant to share our energy, we're meant to share our talents. And so yes, you were teaching way more than that, and I'm sure all of your students got a lot more than just singing and dancing.
Oh, yeah. And it is interesting. I still have students who now have children that are still connected with us. And I still remember my one of our first students. She was just wanting to take some dance lessons. And then I got her into singing, and she was really starting to blossom. And she turned into becoming a performer. And now she is teaching as a performing arts school. She is the dean, and she put on shows. And just a couple of years ago, she invited us. She also is here in Florida, and she directed Beauty and the Beast. And
Mm,
that was the last show that she did. And then she was on stage. I mean, she was crying and said, "Here are my mentors that really brought me here." And you see that ripple effect that you can start
yeah.
by teaching them, and now they're teaching others, and it just I get chills.
Right?
Just
It's like you're
talking
teaching them
about.
to be their authentic self. Like I watched this one, I think it was a TikTok video or maybe a YouTube video where they said like if they did a study where children in the first grade or kindergarten, you tell them to like express themselves, and they're laughing and they're joking and and they're singing and they're just being themselves, right? And then you go to the next grade and the next grade, and then they just start, their light just starts to dim and dim and dim because now they're being made fun of, and they care about what other people think. They don't want to express themselves in fear of being made fun of or being ridiculed or being taunted. And like the expression of the child leaves,
Right.
the who they are in their authentic selves leaves, and I watch a lot of documentary from like actors and singers like Lady Gaga. She was made fun of for wanting to express herself, and people just they want us all to fit in a box, and they want us to just do our job and put our head down and not be our authentic self, when in our core we're all very talented, we're all very skilled, and we all have these beautiful gifts that we should be sharing with the world.
But you know what they're saying now? Oh, you're ADHD. I didn't
Mm,
have that. That didn't even know that it existed. And
yeah.
I, if if I would live today in my children years, I probably would be diagnosed with that, because I was all over the place, and I was a hard time to concentrate on academics, because I was that creative light and that person. And and that is being pushed down more and more today, because even like sports, performing arts, all of those creative things help you to become a self thinking human being, and
Yeah.
not just like listening to, okay, you have to do exactly that to do your SATs, and I cannot even find the words for that, what they do with them today.
Right. They're
But you're
programming
absolutely
them
right.
to be worker bees,
Mm.
rather than being creatives. And more creatives in the world create new opportunities and new things in the world that we can have. And that's where we're missing the beat in the regular school program, is the fact that, like, I also watched this other video where, you're watching little boys and they're trying to contain them, like, sit in your chair, don't do that. If they mess up, they're put in the corner. But like, kids have hormones in their body that they're growing, and they need to express
Yeah,
themselves. They need to be out there running barefoot, having fun, but yet we're trying to contain their energy to sit in a chair for more than like 10 hours a day, every single day, under like the most awful lights, right? And just like a container, rather than allowing them to be out there and express themselves and dance and sing and create art, and like just discover their talents and abilities.
right. And so what we have to look at this point is really educating the adults and
Mm-hmm.
allowing the adults to express themselves. And that's what I do actually today. I, after 27 years of having my school, again, the soul nudges you to go to the next level, go to the next journey and next state in your life, or like next stage in your life. So I sold that, and now I teach and help adults,
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs, to express themselves and share their story through speaking, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what I do. And
Yeah.
there are so many adults who are afraid of expressing themselves and speaking,
Yes.
which is the number, speaking is the number one fear for over
Oh,
70% of people.
I believe it because when I first started this podcast, or when the idea of me wanting to create a podcast. So, rewind, I'm just going to give you a little bit of my story. When I was a little kid, I wanted to have my own radio show. Like, that was my dream. I remember being a little kid and listening to the radio and being like, that would be just the coolest job. It's just to be able to talk to people and be on the radio. And I remember my sisters were like, you have to be a teacher. That's a safer, occupation and everything. And I remember I went to college, got, my degree in communication, television, broadcasting, and I didn't like really go after my dreams because I was so afraid. And it now circled back, and now I'm in my 30s, and my husband's like, what would you do if you couldn't fail? What would you do if you couldn't fail? And I was like, I would love to have a podcast, or I would love to be on the radio. And he's like, well, you live in the world now where you don't have to have the gatekeepers anymore. You can start your own radio show by doing a podcast. You can start your own TV show by going on YouTube. You can write your own book and publish it on Amazon. Like, he's very like open-minded, my husband. And so I said, fine, I'm going to start a podcast. He bought me all the equipment. And I kid you not, for an entire year, I was so afraid, like debilitating fear, where I just literally could not get myself to turn on the mic. I
Mhm.
couldn't. And people don't understand. Like, they listen to me now and they're like, "Oh my God, you're such a natural." Yeah, but it took me years to figure it out and to like allow myself to just be me,
Yeah.
without the fear, without the, and I tell people who are now starting their podcasts, it's like, you're afraid of so many people are going to criticize you. You're afraid that people are going to leave you bad comments. You're afraid that people are going to give you negative. And in my podcast has now turned 5 years old. And in the 5 years, I've had a total of maybe 3 or 4 people that have been negative towards me. So the fear of this, like, oh my gosh, it's just debilitating. I think it also starts in school, where you're asked to go to the front of the classroom and people either make fun of your accent or make fun of your clothes or make fun of where you tripped up on a word or maybe stuttered a little and then you just, oh my God, I got to keep my voice down or I'm not going to speak anymore.
Right. And I can I can tell you that two things that I wanted to apply back. Number one, that's why coaches are so important. If I would have known at the beginning to work with a coach on a different area that would help me move forward quicker, I would have done that.
Yeah.
And also in your case, you stood there for a whole year,
A year.
you know? And we all have those fears, including myself.
Yeah.
When I first started with the idea to become a public speaker, I had a little bit reservations because English is not my first language.
Hmm.
And to this day, I still make mistakes. And I had to get over that fear of letting go and let it be. And people
Yeah.
understand that they don't want to have a perfect person there, right? And once I did that, things moved much, much faster for me. But
Yeah.
to give you an example, um, public speaking is something that you can, and you don't have to become a public speaker, meaning even just going in front of your team or in your personal life, maybe you have to do a speech at one time. You can do this. And I work with a lot of my clients using fun acting exercises
Yeah.
that really pulls out that, because it's not just the theory of doing this exercise and doing pronunciation and working on vocal variety. No, it also has to do with the confidence to pull it out. And I do it in a very playful time and way. I think somebody can maybe relate to that. I recently visited my family in Germany, and we went to a big carnival. And my niece said, "Oh, Sabine, let's go and do this roller coaster together," right?
Hmm.
I'm not a roller coaster person, but I wanted to be cool, you know?
I wanted to be cool. You want to
I
be the
said,
cool aunt.
sure, I wanted to be the cool aunt. Yes. So we went, and as soon as the strap came over my shoulders, I was like, I got this fear in my belly. And I knew there was no turning back. And we went up that steep hill, and I could see the ground disappearing, and all these thoughts in my head. Oh, what if we don't make it? What if we get stuck on the top? What if? So finally, we reached the top, and the only thing I could do was closing my eyes and just pray that I come down alive. And of course I did, otherwise I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And then I realized I didn't even remember half of it. And then I thought, oh my gosh, this is like public speaking. And I
Hmm.
can relate to it now, just in a different ways. You see, we know we have to do it, either to look cool in front of our team or in front of our family, or just to, you have to do it to relate our message and mission
Yeah.
to the audience, to get new clients. So we go up that steep hill, sometimes even on a physical stage, or if in your case, like that, going up the hill was the 1 year that you tried to push that button, but it just didn't happen because you were so afraid.
Yeah.
So finally, you get on that stage. And oftentimes you then speak and say what you have to say. And when you come down, when you're at the end, you don't even remember half of it. And
Hmm.
that is when, like, the coaching that I do comes in, because we have to remember, we have to structure. And when you do those steps that I teach, you are much more relaxed. You understand there's still a little bit of excitement, a little, butterflies in your belly, but this is the good thing that just
Hmm.
gets you to that level to be focused and have that energy. And then, but you know exactly what you say, when you say it, how you say it, and you actually feel good about it. And that is the difference that, and I call it speak like a pro, that
Yeah.
you can handle the fear and have all the skills to become a very effective speaker so you can share your message and your mission.
Yeah, I love that you're saying you have to be able to like grab those little butterflies and still press the button or still go on stage because it is your mission to share your message. I have other coaches that message me and they're like, I don't know, I just can't go on Facebook Live, or I can't do a TikTok, or I can't do an Instagram. And I'm like, why? If your mission is to help people, how are they even going to know what your message is if you refuse to go on social media? Like,
Yeah.
what are you going to do? Tell your neighbor who's going to tell another neighbor? It doesn't work that way anymore. We live in a different society now where it's a technology driven. So there are other people out there sharing their message. It's maybe they're going to resonate. And that was one thing with me when I first started. I was like, well, I really don't have to share my message. There's Gabby Bernstein, there's Tony Robbins, there's Jack Canfield, there's Wayne Dyer. I really don't need to share my message. But in reality, like, people resonate with me because, I'm Mexican, I look like them, I've been through the same stuff that they've been through, and people will resonate with you, because you're from Germany, you know what it's like to be an expat. Like, people need to be out there because they'll resonate with different people, and your message needs to be heard because it's just as important as everyone else's. And so you do have to get over the fear. It took me a year to get over the fear, but once I did it, I mean, and it's been a huge learning process. Like, even for the first 3 years, I didn't do YouTube because I didn't want to show my face and I didn't want to be criticized again and again. Like, in the year and a half now that I've been on YouTube, I haven't had any negative comments. Like, you know what I mean? We have these like ideas like, oh my God, my family's going to make fun of me, my friends, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles. I have a huge family, like a huge family. I'm one of seven. I have over 32 nieces and nephews. They're all in their 30s and 20s. They all have social media. I have a lot of aunts and uncles and cousins. I have like hundreds probably.
So you
Tell
were
me
afraid that they criticize you
that they
in the
would, and
family.
tell me how many of them actually look at my videos, like them, and comment.
Exactly.
Probably three.
You know, what you just shared is so important. You said, who am I? There is a Tony Robbins and, Wayne Dyer, all those big names, but there's something special. And here's one thing that I want to share. And I think that brings the point what we just talked about. I was attending a speaker and singer songwriter conference. And I have been on stages. I sang pieces, musical. I'm a musical theater performer, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I sang for thousands of people. But in my role as music minister, I started writing my own songs for the service. And it was a small congregation. So we were at this music conference, and all of a sudden, the speaker said, the MC through the loudspeaker says, all of your names are being put into a hat for the opportunity to perform your original music. And that all of a sudden, I got this fear. It's like, oh my gosh, what if? I mean, there were 100 other musicians, and I didn't feel qualified. I said, I didn't study songwriting. I didn't go to school for that. And who am I? And I just learned playing the guitar myself. And I don't know if it's good, all these things. And
Mm-hmm.
then I thought to myself, I don't want to do it. And guess what? My
They
name
picked you.
wasn't pulled, and I felt relieved.
Oh.
The next evening was the end of everything. There was a singer that performed. It was beautiful. We all sang along, and the energy rose. I was in a very good state, a very good mood, and very confident. All of a sudden, the MC said, and now everybody who didn't have the opportunity to perform yesterday has the chance today. I got that feeling again. But this time, Paola, it was different.
Mm-hmm.
First, I had that elevated state, and that's what I teach a lot, what Tony teaches a lot. But then my name was called. And I said, those voices came back, but I pushed them aside and said, Sabine, if you don't do it now, you will never do it. So I put all my gut together. I got on stage and just did my exercises, my breathing to calm my nerves. And I said to myself, I'm just going to be myself. And I give myself permission to fail, to make mistakes. So I did that. So I got on stage. People later said to me, you look like the Maria from The Sound of Music. I had the blouse and the guitar. And then I just shared with them, this is a song I wrote. And I invite you to sing along. It's called I Am. It's a very spiritual song. They all sang along the chorus. Harmonies were beautiful. But here is where magic started to happen. Afterwards, people came up to me saying, thank you for sharing that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And keep singing. And one person came up to me and say, this was exactly what I needed to hear today. Wow. Can you imagine if I would have not gotten up there, I would have pushed away all these people and I would have never shared my music and it would have never made a difference. And that would have led me not to record my CDs, not to write books. And this is what we have to overcome. And everybody has the ability to do it.
Yes, absolutely. So beautiful, the ripple effect we can cause when we can get out of our own way. And it's so important for us to just, the big part where you said you changed your elevated state. It's such a huge thing because when you said Tony Robbins teaches this too, I actually went to Unleash the Power Within and I walked on hot coals. After I walked on hot coals, I felt like I'd conquer the world. And that was the moment that I was like, I'm ready to press record. Because it is the state that you're in. If you're in a negative state, if you're vibrating at a low frequency and you're allowing the negative thoughts to engulf your brain and tell you you're not good enough, who's going to hear you, why should you say it? And you're going to tell yourself, I'm not young enough, I have this wrinkle, my hair is all messed up, I don't have the right outfit. You can come up with a million excuses, but if you could change your state and vibrate at a different frequency, you could feel like you can conquer the world. It doesn't matter what you look like or what you're wearing or what's on your background or what mic you even have, because there's so many excuses we can come up with, and you'll just show up because you're in that elevated state of love, joy, happiness, that you just are so excited that you have to share your message. And in that moment you did that, and it caused a beautiful ripple effect. And we all need to do that every single day as we are trying to share our message. Okay, Sabina, I loved your story. As we wrap up this episode, what would be your nugget of wisdom for anyone? Because it is important for adults to do this. It's super important. We've all been programmed by the school to lower our light, to hide our abilities and our talents and our gifts. And it is important for us to share our message, even if we just hit that one person. It's important to share our message. What would be your nugget of wisdom for anyone who is listening, and why it's important to hire a coach?
Well, one thing I can say, the better we can communicate our message and our mission, the greater impact we can make. And tips that I would give is number one, just allow yourself to fail, failing forward. And when you give yourself that permission, that is step number one. And step number two is get into the fast track and get help. Don't try to figure it out on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get help, however it looks like, either working with a coach or buying this book or this course or whatever it is, do it. And then second, and this is so crucial, you have to start with awareness. You have to, first of all, be aware of where you are, and then start that allowing process to bring your energy up there. And if you don't know, as you said so eloquently, if we raise our energy, and music is a huge part. That's why music, I create music for my clients to get them going, right? To really
Mhm.
jump the gap, to start. And when you get yourself in that state, turn on the radio. We don't have radio anymore, right?
Turn on
Turn
your
on
phone
your computer.
Spotify.
That's right, Wi-Fi, right? And then just dance. If you have to make a decision, if you have to click that button, that start button, just get yourself in that state and
Mhm.
you feel good. Have that energy, elevated energy. And yeah, so that is my piece of advice.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, so how can my audience find you?
Very simple. Just go to my website, sabinekvenberg.com/resources. I have free resources there that you can download. I have courses. You can schedule even a talk. And I would like to give your audience the opportunity to have a free consultation with me,
Mm,
because the people that are listening to this, fearless females, right? I want to contribute to that as well, to say, hey, and it's totally without any agenda. You don't have to sign up for anything. I just genuinely want to help you and guide you in the right direction.
Oh, guys, please take advantage of that free consultation. If you have a business, if you have gone through anything in your life and you have a message to share, do not do the world a disjustice by holding it to yourself. Like, find a way to share your message and hire someone like Sabina. All right. Thank you so much for being a part of the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It was a blast. I truly uh, see the value that you bring, and that is wonderful. That's beautiful. Keep on going.
Thank you. Thank you again for listening to Journey of a Fearless Female. I'm your host, Paola Rosser. If you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual mentor, you can book a free discovery call with me at www.fearlessfemale.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at fearlessfemale_coach, subscribe to my YouTube channel at fearlessfemale, or find me on TikTok. I'm under at paola.rosser. And if you love this episode, make sure you hit subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a review. I read every single review, and I truly appreciate the time you spend writing it.